welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Make sure you go to andymoorehonda.com. Rick Bozich and Bob Kravitz. Man, that just sounds like a dinner entree that you can't get enough of.
It sounds like a pierogi or something. Kravitz and Bozich.
Like a plumbing company.
Yeah,
you guys, it's better than Packer and Durham. So you guys should start that.
I just saw Wes last Saturday. I'll pass along your regards.
You saw who?
Wes Durham. He was here doing the Louisville game last Saturday.
Well, it's not him. It's Packer. When I was young and in college and doing all the stuff that you do to try to, get up. I worked for CBS Sports and did a lot of NCAA games and would always be around those guys. And they were all great. Quinn Buckner, even Bill Walton called me to thank me once. I remember that's back when you had machines we had these machines, people at home that recorded people when they called you at home. But anyway, my roommate called me and said, "Dude, you got a message from Bill Walton on the machine." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, don't worry." I said, "Yeah, I was expecting that," but it was all right. Here's my Harry Caray story. I was also doing the same thing. We were covering a Reds game at Riverfront and a Cubs game, and this was like the week after Derby because there was a girl that I worked with at Derby from Chicago, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to work the Reds game next week." And I said, "Oh, me too." So she said, "Hey, let's go up to the booth after, and we'll get Harry's autograph." And I'm like, "All right." I wasn't a Cubs fan, but I knew a buddy that was a big-time Cubs fan, and I'm like, "What the hell? I'll get one for myself." So I grabbed a couple of balls off the field during BP, and after the game, we went up there, and there's only four of us. I'm the first in line, and, "Hey, Mr. Harry, can you sign my ball?" And he's like, he was probably a good 10 buds in, but he signed it. I said, "Mr. Caray, would you mind signing one for my friend?" No, I signed your ball. I get out of here. So I'm like, all right, I just go to the back of the line thinking he's so drunk, he's not even going to notice. But we go through and I come back up and say, "Hi, Mr. Caray, would you sign a ball?" He's like, "No, you son of a bitch, I signed your ball. Now get the hell out of here." So that was my Harry Caray story, man. I cherish that story. I absolutely love it. Well, how are you guys doing, man?
Doing great. Rick can understand this story. So I went all the way out to San Francisco, 7-hour delay getting out of Indy. In, I'm ready to write my column off the game. My computer dies.
Oh no!
Wow.
My computer refused to boot up. I tried everything. I mean, I threw it across the press box. I figured something's got to work. So if people are wondering where the hell my column is from the Colts' terrific victory the other day, it's nowhere.
Wow. Holy cow.
Just got it back this morning.
How old was that thing?
It's a year old.
Whoa.
It's a year old, and the thing just tore it. Then the guy explained to me yesterday what went wrong, and my eyes just went to the back of my head. I'm like, you do realize that I barely know how to use Twitter, much less, you try to explain to me what went wrong with my something drive and my something. I'm just sitting there like, no, okay, just fix it.
You couldn't write it out and dictate it?
Not like the old days. No, I don't roll that way anymore.
Have George Montgomery send it on the old fax machine. Remember that?
Fax machine, yeah. Does he still have that tape recorder? It's bigger than
yes.
Miles Turner.
The only person who had a bigger tape recorder was Sid Hartman.
Yeah.
George Montgomery, and we're getting off course here, but
I was just getting ready to say George Montgomery because I just noticed it the other day in the football post presser. I looked down and there's this size, and I said, "That's a damn cassette tape recorder." Yep. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, there's no editing. You can't edit that. You can't, I don't know how you do that.
He used to, where I first met him, he worked at IU games and he had his own telecopier.
Yeah.
And when out-of-town sports writers would come to cover games with their typewriters and type their stories up, he would charge them, I don't know, $75, $100, whatever it was, to basically, we call it fax. Back then it was telecopy their stories back to their newspapers. Back then when you had a choice of putting it on the 6-minute mode or the 4-minute mode.
Yeah.
With
Remember
that
that-
real smelly new paper that they used.
Remember that sound you used to get for
Yeah.
dial-up?
So George at one time was kind of crafty. That shocks you. Have no idea how much that shocks me.
Oh, he's a hustler, man.
He's a hustler, man. He knows how to make a buck.
Man,
He
And
knew
so
all
what-
the sports writers around the Big Ten, and he always got them to use his service.
he's funny. Folks, he's a character. You
Character.
probably
That's
don't
a
know
word.
who he
That's
is.
a word.
George
Let me tell you,
Montgomery
he
is a
is a
book.
character. You know what? I may have to get him on one day. With you guys.
Do
That would
so
be
at your
freaking
own
hilarious.
risk.
Oh man, trust me, I have my own stories, believe me. But yeah, it's just funny. But yeah, he's pretty crafty. Yeah, what does he do now? It's with Fox
I
somehow.
think he
I don't
runs
know.
around getting radio interviews for different radio networks.
Yeah,
Or
he
he gets them and tries to get the radio networks to take his interviews, right? I think
Right. Something.
Gosh, let's see, Rick, what's going on with you, man? What's the latest?
Last weekend I was at the Louisville game. This weekend, none of the local teams are at home, so I'll be watching games on TV and getting ready for college basketball to start.
Yeah.
Speaking of college basketball, Indiana was supposed to play Belmont in Louisville, and well, that was I don't know what's going on with that. They canceled the Cincinnati secret scrimmage
Right.
because of a lack of
Now, the
bodies.
Belmont one's not going to be played either?
I don't know. I don't think nothing has been
Oh,
known
okay.
about that, but there's
I'd
just
not
been a
heard
lot
that.
of
It's supposed to be
questions.
Saturday downtown at the Yum Center, I think.
Yeah. So I've not heard that that's canceled. There's been a lot of talk about it, but I think people were thinking that because they had a lot of unhealthy bodies, but I've heard nothing of it being canceled. And I know that they would
Okay.
desperately like to get that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not playing
Well-
any exhibition games like everybody else is.
Well, they had the two in the Bahamas, which took care of that. I
Right.
guess.
Right.
Now, are you gonna try to get in?
To the secret scrimmage?
Yeah.
If I was, I wouldn't tell you.
At least not on this forum. Oh man, the funny things about those secret scrimmages is, as soon as they're over, so many
Jeff
of
Goodman has
us
the
have-
box score.
We got
Yeah.
As soon as it's over. So yeah, and that'll be the case. Somebody will have it as soon as it's over. You'll have all the statistics. Probably have halftime statistic at halftime. But Bob, and how about you, Bob? What you been doing?
Well,
Besides losing your articles.
besides losing my articles, working on a couple of big pieces, and I've got the Colts today. Obviously, they got a monster game. To me, this is their chance to have a chance at the playoffs. You know, they're 3-4. Tennessee's 5-2. They have got to beat the Tennessee Titans this weekend. I think this is a chance for Carson Wentz to really flip the narrative on its head, because he's playing some really good football. I think he's starting to show some of the signs. I just been spending the morning looking at his numbers from 2017 and 2018, and he's right there. And he's played one game in a rainstorm and one game with two bad ankles. So he's been kind of a revelation, really. So I got that, and I got the Pacers on Saturday and Monday. I'm going to jump on them, and and a bunch of long pieces that I'm working on that I can't tell you about.
A lot of
Secret
secrets,
scrimmage
lot of
stuff, huh?
secret scrimmage going on.
A lot
Here.
of
No, I'm just kidding.
secret long form stories.
But yeah, Indianapolis, the Colts, and those wins have looked so good. And there's the one game, was it the Miami game, or they lost that they shouldn't have lost?
No, that was Baltimore.
Baltimore. But man, that changes so much on that record. It not only does it look better, but it is better. It propels them. They were so close to that. And then Baltimore goes and gets destroyed by Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Isn't that
And
something?
I mean, destroyed. I was like, wow, this dude is for real. And what a difference that quarterback is making. But of course, it has to be a little bit more than a quarterback. But he just looks so comfortable in what he's doing.
Yeah. No, Burrow is special, man. I mean, but just getting back to Tennessee real quick. I mean, they beat Buffalo in that great game that went down to the end, and then of course they absolutely stomped on Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. So right now, this is a team that's probably playing about as good a football as anybody in the league. And to me, I mean, I hate, eighth game of the season must win. Yeah, this is a must win. If they fall too behind, that's a problem. No, that's a real problem. You lose you lose both your games to Tennessee. Now you're 3-5. They're 6-2. That's a real issue.
Yeah, they got a tough road to hoe, but they sure look like they can possibly manage it if their schedule stays out for them.
Well, yeah, and they got to get healthy. I mean, they got Quentin Nelson back. Braden Smith is supposed to come back, so they'll have their offensive line attacked sooner rather than later. The things that still bother me is that the lack of an edge pass rush is still an issue, and their secondary it was thin to start with. And now with Yasin hurt and Xavier Rhodes playing hurt, no Julian Blackman, they're really thin back there.
Rick, Indiana travels to Maryland this weekend on the football field, and every game from here on out has to be considered a must-win game if you're looking at bowl eligibility. And this is absolutely one of those must-win games because it's a team that
sucks.
You were supposed to be better than, but they haven't been. And I don't even know if maybe they're on par with them, but they're on the road. So you got that. And Minnesota's not going to be a gimme, even though it's here. They still have to go to Michigan and go to Purdue. This is a must-win game. And the quarterback, we talk about the quarterback with Joe Burrow, how much that difference that made. Well, the quarterback has not made as much of a difference for Indiana because none of them have played well this year. Unfortunately, and that's a serious issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's a total meltdown by the offense, really. It's almost impossible to believe how far it's gone backwards from last season where they had that. Didn't they scored more points in the second half against Ohio State last year than they've scored in the Big Ten the whole season this year, right? I mean,
yep.
That's
I'll take your word for it, but that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, they're not getting any quarterback play. They're not getting any offensive line play. Even the receivers who were highly touted haven't had a great year. The running back room has been, decimated by transfers and whatever else, and people are upset with the offensive coordinator. It's pretty much every possible angle you could talk about it. When I look at the team, I just wonder internally whether they still have the resolve and the self-confidence to win a game like this against Maryland. I know they're a 5-point underdog, but they're not going to beat Michigan on the road. So that means they have to beat Maryland if they have any chance of going bowl eligibility. And after they've been beaten down the way they've been beaten down by the schedule and everything else that happens, is there enough leadership within that team to deliver that kind of an effort this weekend? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, Bob, and if they're going to lose this game, man, that would be tough to keep the team in check for 4 more games after that, to let it completely go into the dumpster. So winning this game is tantamount for their season, really.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What we found out is they didn't handle success real well. Let's see how they handle a lot of adversity. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't McCulley going to start this week or no?
I don't know.
I don't think they've said yet, right?
But
then they list like 4 guys.
Yeah, well, yes, because he mentioned that in his press conference. Somebody said something. He goes, "Well, we're not going to talk about that or whatever." So I'd say they're going to run guys in and out. So whoever starts, it's not matter. Donovan McCulley or
Tuttle.
No, or not Tuttle.
No, the walk-on guy.
Graham. Yeah, walk-on. Graham Grimmer.
Or Zionsville or wherever he's from.
Grimmer, who probably never expected to see a minute of a Big Ten game, and
much less against Ohio State.
And now is a potential starter. He's the new Xander Diamont, without quite the excitement that Xander gave.
Xander Diamont. Oh, that brings back memories.
Oh man, well, that's kind of a situation that they're in without minus the running game. At least Xander had Tevin Coleman on that team, so they had a hell of a running game and a decent offensive line. Now you don't have that. You've got an offensive line that's leaky and a quarterback that is unexperienced and was third and fourth on the depth chart, and no running backs. I mean, that is, I don't know how in the hell anyone expects them to win a game with that situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Indiana this year is that I think if you look closely at what happened last year and what a great advantage they created in terms of the turnover differential, that probably wasn't going to continue again this year, and it hasn't, and that's really hurt them. But I thought they had moved past the point of where they would get beat the way they got beat by Ohio State last Saturday. This is back to where it was, in the early stages of rebuilding. I mean, Ohio State, what was it, 44-7 at halftime? Ohio State could have put 70 on them. Ryan Day backed off in the second half, but they're back to the ground floor.
But how much of not having an offense plays into that? Because at least they had some semblance of offense.
It's everything.
Yeah, and it's not. They don't have a quarterback. Stephen Carr's a decent running back, but he's got nobody to help him. They've got no offensive line, and the receivers haven't had a good year. I mean, it's pretty much a complete offensive breakdown. And so you wonder at this point, isn't the primary discussion at this point going to be what after the season is Tom Allen going to do to fix it? Is the offensive coordinator going to be changed? Is the offensive line coach going to be changed? What other staff moves is he going to make? Because the best offense he's had since he's been there is when Kalen DeBoer was there, and the offense has declined both seasons since DeBoer's been gone.
Although with all the guys they're missing, I'm not sure Don Coryell could do anything with this group.
That's true.
That's true. I believe that. Oh, absolutely, I agree with that right now. But even when they started, I think they put all their eggs in Penix's basket, and he was going to be the guy. And it should have been a Tuttle and Penix thing. I don't know. We were in practice, but they kept a lot of the offensive stuff away inside. So you couldn't see what that was going on, but they know he was not allowed to be hit the whole time. And it seemed like they were setting themselves up for disaster, but by doing that, but I can't say because I wasn't in the decision-making part of that.
Now, didn't Allen at least suggest this week he's finally going to make some changes on the offensive line, which I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, I asked him about it. I said, or Nick Sheridan, I said, what changes can you make and what changes do you have to make? Well, that was to Nick Sheridan. And, but I don't know if he had anything to do with that. Tom, yeah, I asked Tom about that too. And he did say that they'll look at changes but it seems like they should have been looking at changes 5 games ago. But they are what they are. I was wondering what Xander Diamant's dad was also on The Young and the Restless. Yeah, I remember he was on some soap opera.
I mean, it's a perfect storm too. I mean, if you look at they're 2-5, and every team they've lost to is ranked in the top 20. I think 4 of them are in the top 10. I mean,
top 10. Yeah,
this is not the kind of team that's equipped to play that kind of schedule. It's not.
No, and the only bad thing is in watching the Cincinnati and Michigan State games, being there, you knew they could have easily have won those with just an average offense or a competent offense. That's all they needed. And the Cincinnati game, of course, losing Mike McFadden didn't help, but they still had their opportunities, and it's just, you can't take it back. So